Uh-oh,
What?
lights on, you're sitting on your phone.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah,
Hey Carter,
Yeah,
those beaver dams I went to last fall,
yeah,
you want me to give you a list of?
like at Norms and Kaisers and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, get the Kaiser, I still gotta get the spring,
Oh, right,
but Hefty's, Henses.
yeah,
I'll have to look at the map and see if the range districts, you read it. Is it like Zettner's on the south side of that?
Right.
That's what drainage.
Yeah.
yeah, that's not,
Hefty's is in the drainage. There. So I gotta get signatures from the people yet. You want me to tell them to call the county or call you, or do you want me to send? I can't send it in before. I can't. When you're supervisor, you can put their name.
We got it.
Right. I guess I've never gone through that process, how I'm supposed to go about that, yeah.
Like it's saying from the last, if they want to go in and tear it out, or I'll give you a call, and you can just fix it.
Yeah, that's fine,
I know the one at Hefty should be ready.
yeah,
It's a pretty good day.
yeah.
Unless they spring rains, the ice means. I did a bunch of them. I've seen that happen before.
Yep.
That ice got a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
it just,
Well,
I guess I'll get back.
Yeah, no, that'd be fine.
I know, but even for
Yeah.
the purpose of conducting the meeting in general, that doesn't work very good.
I was out visiting with Norm Hens
People
one
just
day
don't
out at the
like
farm
it.
there, and he said you were
It's too bad.
trapping, well, this has been
Kenny
a
grandson's like
couple months
I get
ago,
it.
or like, this has been late last fall,
You're
maybe,
in a tough spot.
late last fall sometime, were you out trapping there? Yeah,
Right west of the bridge.
It is.
yeah,
I got 260 pounders.
Yeah, it's not just.
No,
okay,
So families.
yeah. So, okay,
Oh, how we doing today?
yep,
We've been holding our breath the whole time.
bated breath.
Here's.
We're all back here. Madam Auditor, would you put in the record that no decision was made in closed session? Thank you. Discussion decision on wage scale. Do I have a motion?
I would make motion to set a new wage schedule mimicking the sheriff's office and secondary road. To reestablish longevity and direct the auditor to work with our attorney to develop a resolution. That will be effective July 1st, 2023.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Wactor. Discussion.
Yeah, would you like to explain what that means? That's why we're here.
I don't think we can at this point in time, and especially the things discussed in closed session, we cannot.
But what are you trying to, gain from this?
The resolution would probably outline the changes better than we can verbally right now.
We're gonna wait until the resolution comes back from the attorney to make sure that we're all doing it all legally and everything, all the Ts are dotted and all what, so everything that we do it right, so we don't have to do it over again, because we're getting tired of addressing that.
So do wages stay the same? Does longevity stay? What does that mean? What motion?
We're going to have that all spelled out in the resolution.
Well, here's my question is, you're doing this because we're not a bargaining group yet. So what does that mean for the bargaining group? Do you want to continue with this? Do you not? I mean, we gotta have some direction. We have a vote coming.
This isn't gonna change what you voted on.
We haven't
Well,
voted.
no, it isn't gonna change what you negotiated that for.
No,
It wouldn't,
this-
it wouldn't be any reduction of what you agreed to.
No changes, as the contract you have would stay the same? Or would we have to put longevity back into it?
Have to put that back in.
Well, it would supersede your contract.
The contract can't be signed or approved until after you guys vote, so.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at. Where is this going? Is it, you don't want us to have a bargaining group? You do want us?
I don't think it has
That's
any,
not
I
up
don't
there.
think
Yeah,
it has
this-
any impact on that at all.
So this resolution is gonna be spelled out, and that's gonna be something that's discussed then in another board meeting? Or would,
Likely next week,
Next,
maybe 2 weeks if we can't get it right away, but yeah, soon.
So is it just filling out everything you guys discussed last week?
No,
So there's new stuff in it that you can't tell us about?
yes,
Because I don't know, I'm just, I'm.
Yeah,
just
that's-
understand, I'm just really.
that's the answer to the question with closed session, legal requirements, yes.
But. Bargaining group. Does that affect us some way,
No,
No, this is, no.
just wages in general going forward?
it's very, very difficult to answer those questions without disclosing information that was discussed in closed session. So we can't really entertain that.
So how can you make a motion?
motion to, yeah, so how can you make a motion to?
we're making a
Our-
motion for the resolution to be drawn up by the attorney, and his input into it is going to determine what the resolution is. Because we want to do it the right way. We don't want to do it the wrong way.
Well, I get that thing, but do you see where we're coming from?
Sure, yes.
We're gonna,
I would,
I mean.
I don't feel,
The situation right here is I put a lot of time and effort to try and get this bargaining to protect everybody. And if it ain't gonna help us, I don't need the damn headache, to be honest.
I don't feel this would impact the bargaining unit. In general, I mean,
You're leaving a lot of stuff, in general, this or that. I mean, that's,
Well, we kind of have to, but as far as the discussion, this won't affect the bargaining unit, basically.
That the attorney is coming up with, and that is gonna be discussed openly?
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, but we can't
And it-
discuss it until he writes it. Because then it's our opinion, not his.
so in general, this is. Moving forward with a process, it's not official action, it is moving forward with the process. So that the result of that process would be shown in the resolution form. I guess. I mean. I don't know that we have any good answers for. Any of the questions that will be posed right now, so.
Part of this, but when you said mimic the sheriff, what do you mean by mimic the sheriffs? They're gonna get the same percent raise as the sheriffs, that mimicking?
No,
No,
The same treatment and you get a raise next month.
I don't know that we can answer that right now.
We can't.
I guess I'd call for the question to vote.
Do a roll call vote, please.
Nat,
yes,
Wactor,
yes,
Stecker,
Yes,
Jerks,
Yes. Motion carried 4-0. We don't have to discuss it.
no, because we.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would cover both of those.
Right.
That within your motion.
When do you wanna sign, you wanna do that before we have discussion with the auditor? I think it'd be.
Do what?
Do we have to sign all the?
Yeah, we got.
Yeah,
Let's do that now.
Let's do that. Okay.
Questions because you can't share too much information. That's,
It's.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Just a list.
I know.
Yeah, I know where they're going.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Oh, we gotta sign all the papers.
Yeah.
Just follow the tabs, right, Tammy?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Are the ones on the side all we need or top two?
Look at the top ones too. 'Cause those are sideways papers, the ones on the top of the other are sideways. So
Yeah, I didn't get
We
signed.
have to, oh, I don't think we get to sideways ones.
the ones that, no, I mean, the ones that are
Oh,
down the top
okay.
are the sideways ones.
Roger did do the first one at least. Haven't got-
Tell me if I got the second one.
Yeah, I'll check here.
It's convenient to have these to sign.
Nope, didn't get the second one.
But it was convenient
Here you go, there's second.
to empty the boardroom. It was convenient.
And third,
Is there three of them?
yep. I'll have it for you in a second.
It'll eventually make it to us.
Yep.
These things are not convenient to sign.
I'm pretty sure we got all of them there.
Okay.
Flip away, and these? It's
Yes,
on
I
the
saw that,
front-
yep.
Front instead
Yep.
of the back.
Yeah.
Forget
Amy.
Yeah, come back again and visit, Casey.
Oh,
Is that it?
Yeah. You want more, you could probably find one.
No, thank you.
You haven't even gotten very far. Say no, thank you.
There's the budget, it's done, except you're gonna modify that or,
We're gonna have to go back in and change the wages again.
yeah, other than that,
Um,
it's done.
Yeah, are you guys gonna talk to them today?
Yeah, we're gonna call Doug up.
Because, do those numbers are.
So. I can't read color. Will you tell me which is it? Is the ones that are,
The red are current exhibit H tracks.
what does that mean?
That is the request for eminent domain.
Is it?
Yep, so that's everyone who has not signed. There's,
It's previously withdrawn tracks.
So which one's green, which one's,
These are green here.
okay,
Here,
darker
here,
ones
here.
are green.
Yep,
I
Okay,
thought those were like,
and purple is newly withdrawn track.
where,
okay, yeah, yeah,
Purple's over here,
greenish blue.
well, that just blew my mind, cause there's no purple.
right there. and
Withdrawn?
Yeah, on the left
newly
side.
withdrawn.
So
So they don't
withdrawn
have
means
any
they
easements.
withdrew from the easement
No,
Right.
they withdrew from the eminent domain request.
So just these white
So that means they got a signature
are the
out
ones
of
that.
the landowner.
Oh, I see. So it's not the landowner that's withdrawing, it's Summit that's
It's the
withdrawing.
company.
Okay, okay, that makes more sense.
18.
It's like a double negative situation there. All of
Okay, well,
those
thank you.
Yes. you're
that are listed.
If they're all same
for
color to me.
Exhibit H is the one
Okay,
that are
Thank you.
not agreeing to it yet.
So only the blank ones really are signed.
That's how I understand it.
Blank is who signed. Yeah.
Yeah, which is, looks to me
Not a
like,
lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah, just eyeball guessing, I'd say 75% is no.
Well, and the official record said 29% was. That easements that they have, so, as of February.
Yeah,
So,
You can actually read that on the top of their Kyle.
the date, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I can read that.
filed by the Iowa Utilities Board on January 12th, 2023.
It's pretty small.
It is
I'm gonna
very
get a
small.
magnifying
That
glass.
is what you call fine print.
Right,
Yeah,
I think that's a little bit beyond fine.
yeah.
that's very fine.
Do we have one for the northern part as well?
Nav-
They haven't even started.
Navigator.
Well, no, they don't
hasn't-
even have it, do
hasn't
they?
filed
That's
one
right.
yet.
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah.
Here's this
Okay, I think I got them all here.
Oh,
You got them back.
Yeah. I think I might have.
Yeah, you hold it back a little ways. Does that help you read it?
Look how it is there. Funny.
Way to be prepared.
A little card,
Oh, really?
magnifying glass. I got a bunch of them at home.
Huh. Cool.
Never know when you're gonna come across some fine print.
Well, that would help reading all these names. I mean,
I can read all the black ones, the green ones are awfully hard.
oh yeah, that's rough.
I can't read the names. I don't even try.
I can read a couple of them just because
Yeah,
you kind of see the outline of the name and it's like, oh yeah, I know who lives there.
you,
know?
and you
Or who owns
recognize
here.
it, yeah.
But if it's somebody I don't have any clue. That's hard to read.
Mm.
Taking this along.
How about halfway down?
Yeah.
Be here till after lunch. I'm talking just for signing.
My Fitbit is reminding me to move.
Last night I heard that, the pipeline going to Illinois, that they rejected putting, CO2 in the ground in Illinois, and they don't have a place to put it.
Is that Navigators?
Yeah, they're going to Illinois.
Yeah,
Okay, I
that's, I
couldn't
heard
keep
that, but
track of the
I,
directions.
no fact, just
And I believe the Wolf is also going
to Illinois.
to Illinois.
Correct.
Maybe it was, because Navigator's been at it
The old
longer.
school is being torn down, so I grew up in Mapleton, the big huge school south of town.
Okay.
And today they're taking out all the windows of the elementary middle school building,
Mapleton, Iowa,
Minnesota,
Mapleton, Minnesota.
south of Mankato.
Oh, okay.
The curling capital of the world. Now, where, how would you not know where
The what?
Mapleton is?
The what kind?
Curling.
Curling?
Capital of the world.
That's what we did in
curling-
PA. We
Like
did
Well, I
air
guess
curling?
Minnesotans are all Canadians.
Okay.
Like.
Minnesotans are almost Canadians, right?
Yes, Olympian style,
They're
They're not Canucks, so.
Just a boot, eh?
they're not.
not that far.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be saying that. We're not very far from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Well,
Never know who's watching.
we send our water into Minnesota and then they send it back to us. You know, I think they should keep it.
We trade with them on
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
They might
stuff.
be sending quite a bit to us this spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
got-
talking floods up there.
They got a
so.
lot of heat.
Well, by your place and my parents, we send all the water from the north half of the slough all the way up through them.
Clear up to Minneapolis. And then we bring it back down.
Up at the lake and where we have our cabin, there's tons and tons of snow. You just,
Is it?
yeah, like, our, when we bring out the docks and all that stuff in the lifts, it's all covered, you can't even see any of it.
It's up the lifts. I almost got her whipped there.
Oh, don't hurry. We're just gonna have discussion after this and then we're gonna call Doug up at the end
Okay.
so that we can end with that instead of,
I'll have to get the budget in.
Yeah,
anybody want to know the child care report for Iowa? We had that
I'm all right.
discussed last night.
Okay.
it,
Or the drainage.
it comes from Iowa State,
Child care.
so it.
Oh, I thought you had a drainage meeting.
No, Nyakog.
Oh, you had night cog meeting. That's, that's right.
Yeah.
If it's from Iowa State, it must be good.
It was good. I mean, it was very interesting. We're short of daycare, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
All right.
one of the reasons we're short of daycare is because the state makes rules that are too hard to follow.
I know several people that quit doing daycare because of that.
Yes,
Right.
and it's kind of counterintuitive for them to say we have to enhance daycare and they take it away.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff the state does makes no sense.
Yeah,
Okay, I can-
Yeah, go ahead. We're gonna have, board reports while you're signing.
okay,
Is that all right?
yeah, that's fine.
Carter, did you have any meetings last week?
No, I didn't. Actually, I don't think I did. The coming week I have, I believe I have wellness coming up tomorrow. And I have a meeting in regards to the pipeline on Thursday. And other than that, that's all I've got coming up this week.
Okay.
Me?
Yep, go ahead.
So we did the EMA commission meeting last Tuesday, just kind of went back and discussed some of the JEO stuff. Getting our mitigation, our hazardous mitigation plan kind of cleaned up, redrawn up and there was a grant that we did get approved for that. And then we approved getting some lights put on the new side by side. Because the last time they had a blizzard, it was hard to determine that that was an emergency vehicle. Because they only had the yellow beacon lights on it, so we approved for those getting put on. And just kind of went through a few other formalities. Discussing how the meetings are handled and things like that. There were some questions about the open meeting stuff, so we, took some time to clarify that. And then we did spring conference down in Des Moines. The big topic down there was getting your county on the map. There was a big push for improving tourism to your county, finding what your county is known for and promoting that to, get people drawn to coming and visiting. There's discussion about holding events and legal topics on that, things that you have to be careful of and, hosting events in your county, things like that. We got to hear from one of the guys that is, I can't remember what his title is, but he does a lot with the Field of Dreams down there in Dyersville. Discussing about how much, just having that there has, brought in a ton of revenue for not just their county, but surrounding counties and the state. So just a lot of discussion on that and how that affects like economic development, getting people to come to your county to, basically fall in love with your county and then want to move here. Then that creates job opportunities, chances for bringing in new industries and things like that. So there's a lot of good information.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, the website that, they're pushing with tourism and everything is traveliowa.com. So fairly simple and stuff. When you go on there, right at the beginning, whether it's phone or computer, you can hit build a road trip or discover Iowa passports, different places you can go. And I haven't gone through all of it yet, but when they were discussing it, when you build a road trip, you can like plot out the roads, the path you're gonna take, and it will come up, it'll pop up with highlights of what is in the area, what's a good idea of things to do. So if we do that for our county, we should see what's on there. And if there's things that we'd recommend that aren't on there, highlight them and get them put on the website. That way we can catch anyone who may be driving from Fort Dodge to Mankato or Mason to Spencer type thing. And then you get your travelers that may be going through, whether it's a main road or secondary road or whatever. If they're taking that path, it will highlight things that are of importance and recommended here. So
Yeah, they discussed on that website that there's I can't remember what they called it, but basically you go in as not like a tourist, but as set up an account and you can actually put stuff in there, that you think highlights your community, and just about anybody from the community can do that. So they really brought up having discussions about what your county has to offer for tourism and things like that.
yeah,
I did forget to mention, they did bring up a little bit on the opioid settlement stuff. There is some new stuff that came out that has to be approved. I'm not sure. I think it came out mid-February is what he said.
Todd's been handling.
Todd's been handling all that.
Already
Okay.
got the other payments, I believe, already.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's taken
Really restrictive what we can spend it on.
care of. Yes.
yeah,
And they were talking about adjusting some of that, I think, and that they would have more information put out, but they gave us a website. I think I took a picture of it.
Isaac has sent out
Yeah.
multiple emails and stuff.
Have they?
too.
Okay. Okay.
If you got any questions on that, you could definitely ask Todd
Yeah.
and
He has that
Okay.
information. He receives the checks and then brings them up to me. Get them deposited into the right account. We haven't spent any of that money yet or even talked about any of that yet, but
yeah.
it is coming in and he is staying up on all of that.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. Mr.
I
Stecker.
got those two.
I got them
I'll
all.
keep them.
Okay. So yeah, ISAC as well. EMS minutes from last week I passed out to everyone, so you can look at them if you got any thoughts or questions, but in general, it was mostly discussion. There really wasn't much to act on. Bill's working on a lot of the stuff on the system, so we will.
All right, good question. Who's the Vasky on the board?
Sandy.
Sandy, okay,
Yep.
Your dad lives in Ramsey Township.
okay.
They live across some,
She's on the transfer station road,
Okay, okay.
trying
kind
to,
of by Burt, southeast. a
Yep,
little bit.
yep,
couple miles from the dump.
yep.
And, no,
Said it come.
yeah, just short,
So
sweet.
when, I have a question about the minutes quick. When
Yeah.
it's talking about transfer of EMS staff honoring the original hire date of each person. Coming into the county, how does that look?
So Bill's had
Or what's
a
the
number,
discussion that you had regarding that?
Bill's had a number of conversations with HR and payroll, and the only point of discussion was in regards to the employees that have been hired by, I don't know if it's in here. Basically since Bill has started, 2020, I think.
July 1st of 2020. The date in here.
is that written in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would go back to that date is what Phil will request, and the EMS board voted to recommend. I abstained because I will vote on it here,
Sure.
not over there, but the thought process behind that is, and the reason for requesting that is the hire date affects when their vacation like comes on and when it rolls over, so Phil
Okay.
does not want all the employees that are transferring across to have everyone trying to take vacations in the last 2 weeks or the last month.
Mhm.
Staffing wise, it wouldn't work very.
They're trying to
feasible
use it
that-
up before they get it. Yep.
Before they lose it and get their new stuff.
Yep.
So that's one point. The other point is this system has been an idea, concept, a brainchild, for a lack of a better term, for this period of time. We were just working towards it. So it was the thought that they were hired with the intent of going to a system, so transitioning a name of the employer is not, should not be a punishment to them.
Sure. Yep.
That was the basis of the conversation.
Okay.
So there's some things within that I still need to look into, and some questions I have that I haven't gotten answered quite yet, but that was the purpose of the discussion.
That did check with Mike and we had some of the questions about that too, to make sure that those things could be done. I know she talked to Phil
Yeah.
at length about those.
Yep. So if you got any thoughts or questions, definitely ask me, Phil, Melissa, whoever.
Sure.
Donna, and we can work through some of that, but that's not a immediate decision. I don't know if Phil will be asking for it to be on next week's agenda, but it will be coming to us eventually. I just don't know exactly what time.
Yep.
Yeah, last night I had an IACOG meeting. Quite a bit of the discussion was on daycare. There's church-based daycare systems that can't meet the criteria because it needs sprinkling systems and ground floor before that you can be a daycare. And some of that don't make sense to me. I don't know, if you have a really good building that's sitting there that could be used for daycare, why, we're so short of daycare, why are we limiting what daycares can be?
Safety.
Yeah, I know it's safety, but at some point, people need daycare, and you're talking about improving the county. One of the biggest reasons that we don't have workers in the county is housing and daycare.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean,
And I'm gonna assume that if you're taking your kid to somebody's house or to an establishment, that you're trusting the establishment with your child. I mean,
Right.
that's just kind of a given.
right, and we want it to be safe, but I still think that we could do more to make it.
Maybe a little overreach on some of
Yeah.
those requirements.
You wanna look through there, it's interesting, it's all full of.
Well, like right now,
districts.
we have no daycare in Laverne.
Right,
Nobody offers us.
and I know
We did have a couple, but
there's a couple churches that have offered to use their Sunday school rooms for daycare in our area. And they said, no, not without a sprinkling system put in. And
that's ridiculous.
I think that's a little ridiculous.
House is done.
No,
Yeah. We don't live in California.
no,
We don't need to water our yard.
yeah.
People do, but yeah.
Right.
So,
Not
and the
a-
other thing is
not a
ground level.
requirement.
What's ground level? Is one step is not ground level? Wow,
Really? Is that
Yeah.
how they classify
Is
that?
that really?
yeah. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Whose
Are
house
they-
doesn't have a step up
Yeah,
into their house?
Yeah.
Are they from Iowa? Did they know how many hills we have around
You
Iowa?
call back after
Yeah.
lunch.
I'm just,
Yeah,
it's frustrating to
Perfect.
me
Thanks.
that we have rules that limit stuff so stringently that
Yeah,
that we're making it impossible to have daycare.
about only
Well,
having in the
and-
patio home.
my wife works at Bear Care and there's a waiting list
Sure.
to get.
Well, there's
kids
a
in
long
Bear
waiting
Care.
list. to
Yeah,
get in.
Yeah.
Which is sad, very sad.
and they're so overworked there and.
That was the other thing they talked about. Most of them put in more than 40 hours a week and they feel stretched and overworked
Yeah.
and they're not compensated
Yeah.
probably enough for the job that they do. And the state does do some to help with daycare payments, but I think they're limited at $140 a week. I think a lot of daycare is more expensive than that. You probably know better than me.
Mhm.
So that's what we learned there. As far as the budget and ICOG, they gained $146,000 in the last 6 months, so they're doing all right. They had some losses and some gaining months, and they're doing just like everybody else. They have applications out for people to come to work and nobody's flying.
Mhm.
So if you need a job driving a bus, I'll get you one.
Yeah.
That's about all that I had.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the legislative forum. There's another one this Saturday, so that's the
Correct.
second one. It'll heads up for everyone, but
Are you
When was
going?
that?
I plan to.
I plan on it.
Yeah,
It's at
But
10.
10,
10, I think I got wrote down.
Yeah, I wrote it down because it's on my calendar, so
This Saturday at 10.
just tossing that out.
I probably get to it then.
10 AM and it's at 2 PM in Forest City, if you wanna drive to Forest City on Friday.
For what?
I don't need to, I don't need to
Legislative
pay,
forum.
I don't need to chase Henry
no,
to talk
no,
to him.
There's on Friday.
If you wanna drive to Forest City, it's at 2.
Oh, I'll go to that, I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anything else?
my turn.
We will go to the auditor.
Okay.
Yep.
So we already talked about the election. It went like good. We didn't have any issues. We're having the election audit on Thursday. The Secretary of State's office drew Eagle Grant Harrison Township. So then that will complete our election cycle for this election. So then we will hopefully have another election until the city school in November. So, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been some construction in the old boardroom.
Yes.
So, when we decided to move the postage machine to the old boardroom, we had some issues where we wanted to place it. There is not a way that we could run the wires because it's right above where the bathroom is downstairs. So there's already wires ran, but it's over by the window and where all those pictures were. Well, it was framed out, so you wouldn't be able to push that up against the wall. So what they have done is taken that framing off the wall and are patching it up and making it smooth and nice so that postage machine can go right there, and then we don't have to move any wires or drill any holes or do anything like that. So they are in the process of doing that, and the appointment has been moved to next week. So next week, the company will be here to move the postage machine.
okay.
Not a question, I know you can't answer, I'm not trying to pry answers, but one question, you went into closed session under strategics for groups that are not covered by a bargaining.
You're not about.
But you say, I understand that, but you say it ain't gonna affect the bargaining.
The decision,
And the decision wouldn't.
well, we don't know what the decision is totally until we get the resolution back from the attorney, so I wouldn't say anything yet until we get the decision from the attorney.
My point with that was I don't think it should affect their decision on whatever they do. That's, it's not, it shouldn't be an effect in that regard.
I don't think they're relevant to one another.
Yeah, that, exactly.
They're not
That's-
relevant, so
Like. They're not things that impact each other. They're side by side parallel type scenarios. I don't know how else to explain it.
No, I'm just trying to get a grasp.
That
You
was,
know, you went in, and that's the stipulation under which you went closed session. So that's why I'm asking.
we went in because of the wage schedule. Had nothing to do
But
with your bargaining unit, nothing.
yeah,
Zip,
nothing.
nothing.
That was my point, is it shouldn't affect that because it's not part of the conversation.
okay.
Yeah.
More questions than answers.
Yeah,
So that's what they're doing in there. So we'll have to find a place to put the old board pictures. sometime, but
Garbage.
yeah.
I say that.
Some of them we'd probably like to. keep around for a
Well, I
while.
thought at one time we was gonna put a flag back.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do some kind of mural back there, but I'm sure we could find a place to put some of the old pictures.
Could we put some of the old pictures on the back wall?
Sure,
Yeah,
There's plenty of walls
yeah,
Yeah.
there's plenty of space, so
we
that,
could put a group somewhere.
And
back
we
there.
should do a current board picture before the last.
Last
yeah,
meeting of the.
Really?
Yeah,
when we're all here, we need to.
so,
We'll
so
have to
when,
schedule that.
when Jack's not on vacation, we'll have to put that on the calendar.
Okay,
Yeah, but
We have to do
the
that.
next time Jack is back, Roger will be going on vacation
I'm
probably.
due.
Yeah,
I'm due.
I haven't been gone hardly in years. One time in the last couple of years.
so if you see them working in there, that's what they're doing, they're just fitting that wall so it will fit with the postage machine.
They're gonna put a new floor.
And not in there, in the back room where,
He said he's gonna put one in there too and cover up all the holes where
oh, well, that
they
could be.
pulled the, what we call the church fuse out.
Oh, that very well could be. I know that
benches.
back in this room where the new, I think the plan is the new guy's gonna be with Derek and Don's gonna move to that back room. So they're gonna pull up that carpet back there and put a new floor, which I think is a good time to do that. So, and they have the floor already from leftovers, so we'll just use what they already have to
Okay.
put that in. So, that is the project that they are working on now, and they said that they're confident they'll have it complete by next week when they come to move the postage machine, and then I'll send out an email at that time, letting everybody know that the postage machine is moving.
It's gonna be lucky. It's not gonna be 80 degrees back there.
Yeah. Oh. We have or did receive our first payment of $50,000 for the LATCF grant, which is
That's
an
good.
extension of ARPA.
Hmm.
So we have received that amount. It is in our account. I don't know when you guys want to start talking about that, how to use it, or if you want to start talking about it, we should be getting our second half next fiscal year. I don't know. So,
We had a plan.
well, we kind of talked about it, but we never decided anyway. So,
Yeah, we were discussing the doors
Yeah.
upstairs.
but
Third
nothing
floor.
was ever decided.
Yeah.
about it.
Okay.
We didn't.
It was
Where-
just a mention.
Where were we left off on that?
I think Derek it's in Derek's hands, and I know he's kind of behind schedule and stuff, but I think he was gonna,
I know we went up
Looking
there
into
with
that.
them, yeah.
and, looking at prices and stuff like that, cause we thought we would do that, the sheriff's office and that, election center all pretty much at the same time.
Yeah.
And we have the grant for 10,000 to use over there, and then we have that 50,000 possibly to use for part of that up there. So I know he was looking at quotes and comparisons and that kind of thing. So I think he's.
I think it's a good place to use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So just so you know,
My concern would be, I don't wanna use one-time funds on something that's gonna be a ongoing expense. So I mean, I don't know what maintenance or improvements of that would look like, but
Well, I can tell you, we have our door system where I work, and
mhm,
that very rarely gets touched. The only time it ever gets touched is if something happens with it, and then you just have the person come in and do a quick repair on it, but it's all run
You use it
electronically. and-
hard.
Yep, you
pretty,
just
pretty.
basically
seamless.
badge in. The bulk of it is going to be putting it in. The maintenance of it is very minor.
We
Okay,
had
that's good.
badges at Dairyland to open doors and you were restricted on what doors you could open.
Yep.
And I don't know that it ever failed. In the years,
Yeah.
in the 15 years or 20
That's
that I
good,
was
that's
there,
good.
it always worked.
I don't know if he's looking at cards or fobs or what he's looking at, but I know he's looked at different options. too,
Yeah.
So,
We were old school, we had cards yet. I think now they do have bombs.
It's this way.
I got a little black thing that I
Yeah.
hold up.
so,
It's on my keychain.
so when I hear maybe something come out, if you guys want to talk to him about it, let me know when you want this to be addressed so we can decide how to use it. Because if we're gonna use it this fiscal year, we need to put it in our budget amendment. So,
It might be better to just deal with it next year after the funds actually come in. I mean, we've got 50 in now, but we could wait till the other, we're not out anything.
Yeah,
then we'd
I'd
have to
like
wait to do
to-
the project though too, and I don't know how quick they want it. Did they say October they wanted that done?
Once you see where.
I was thinking November.
Okay.
Yeah, see where Derek's at on it, and if we
Yeah.
can spend some of the money
Do
this
we wanna,
fiscal year, I'm in favor of using it instead of moving it to the next year.
Well, we
We
don't,
want
we don't have it, we don't have it budgeted anywhere right now, right?
Right.
Okay,
Before we
It,
do a
it,
budget.
it is budgeted, there is 50,000 budgeted next year, because we know we're getting 50,000
Okay.
next year. But this 50,000 that we got is not budgeted. Because we were not aware of
so
it
that would be another thing to add to the budget amendment.
if we use it this year, otherwise we'll do it in next year.
Do we wanna talk to Derek real quick?
What she can talk to him.
yeah, just.
We have to decide when to, you don't know when you're gonna do the budget amendment yet.
No, I will start it soon.
Yeah.
Well, and that was one question that was posed out in the hall, like the timeline of the budget amendment. Do you have anything in mind for that?
We usually, it has to be done by May, the end of May. So, we'll probably start it here pretty soon, getting all the numbers together. and stuff. So,
Okay,
We used to do one in the last days of April.
Yeah.
That's when we did it.
but you're thinking of having one in May?
No, it has to be done by the end of May, but I'm thinking April.
Okay,
If we can get, but the thing is, you can't do another one after May, so we have to kind of know where everybody's standing. So you don't want to do it too early and then somebody go over budget and you can't fix it, so you don't, so it's kind of hard to know, we kind of have to look at all the numbers, see where we are.
You don't wanna rush it, but you don't wanna
Yeah.
slow it either.
well, and the reason for that was the discussion about planning and zoning expenses and need to do a amendment for that. You know, you can ask Doug when he comes back up here, but,
Yeah, I'm hoping April,
okay,
hopefully we can get a good grasp of where all the departments are at.
like having it done by the end of April, you're thinking? Okay,
We don't like doing too many of them, but once in a while we have done two.
This will be our second one this year,
yeah,
but the first one a lot was all the stuff, that
mhm,
couple corrections. Okay, then, legislative changes, that was one of the big discussions down at ISAC. And there's differences how people are interpreting, so when we were meeting in our auditors group, there's different ways people are interpreting this new, what is it now? It was 11/24, it's now
356.
356. Yeah. Some auditors are interpreting that the, hazard and the court expenses are gonna be included with that $3.50 levy. And then there's the rest of us that think that that's additional on top of the $3.50 levy. So it depends on how you read it, and things keep changing. And so it's hard to keep track with what's changing and what isn't changing. And I guess what my take out of all of that was, it's gonna keep changing and we're not gonna know till it's done. Because there's just so much in the works and so much happening that we can't even guess right now, so it doesn't even.
No.
and on the Senate side, I believe there's piece on the local option sales tax and taking that away too, which the House does not have. So,
Yeah, so there's a lot happening with it, so
Yeah.
right now I'm trying to take my eyes off of it.
Right.
Because otherwise I'm gonna get confused of what's
Mhm.
really in it anymore and what isn't, so
yeah,
we're keeping an eye on it, but it's, we're just gonna have to wait and see what
It's
happens.
almost like you have to hire another person just to watch that stuff and then just give you the gist of it.
Yeah.
Say, is this something I need to hear this week?
Right,
No,
that's-
okay, good.
that's kind
changes going on about, I'm sure you guys have probably heard compensation boards. There's been, I think the one where they eliminated that has now been, did not pass the funnel, I don't think.
Okay.
But there is one still there about, how decisions are made, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also one in there changing, what plan you are for supervisors. And that one has changed also. It will not affect us because we're already Plan 3, but
Mhm.
those that it will affect are those that are currently Plan 1 or 2 that have a population over 75, it changed to 75,000.
Okay.
So where it will be mandatory, they have to be a Plan 3. They also had a bill in where they were eliminating Plan 2, that also did not pass, so will still be a Plan 2. So there still be 1, 2, and 3, it will just be, based on population, mandatory, if you're over 75,000, I think.
Wouldn't
Like
even
plan.
apply to us
No,
anyway.
it doesn't
Yeah.
apply to us, so it's not gonna affect us, but it is gonna affect some of the bigger counties.
Makes sense.
So plan 1 is at large.
All
Plan
at large.
2 is 3 by district, or is that still at
Plan
large?
2 is you have to live in your district, but you're voted on at large.
Yeah.
Plan 3 is you have to live in your district and you're
Voted
voted on by your district.
Okay,
So it's at large, hybrid, all districts.
okay. But that doesn't change the actual amount of,
Not your board
size
size, not your
or-
size. no.
okay. So they could still have 3 members, just
Or
voted
5.
on differently, 3 or 5. Yep.
Yeah, unless something's changed that I don't know about, that's possible, I don't. But
What they said down,
It's not done yet.
it's not done
what
yet,
they
it's,
said down at ISAC January was that only 39 counties out of 69 counties have a 5-member board.
yeah. Which surprises me, cause some of those bigger counties only have 3 people on their
Yeah.
board.
Well, yes, like Story is one with
Yeah.
Ames, they only have 3.
Yeah, that's just surprising to me. If it works for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, they're like legit full-time,
Full-time
like they have a
employees.
dedicated office, they have a whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, regardless of their actual working hours, they are in the office type people rather than working out countryside type
Right.
people. I
Well,
guess.
we have a different clientele.
Yeah,
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 Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Different
most of our work
environment.
is drainage, really,
Yep.
except for Wactor, he doesn't really have any.
and some nasal drainage.
And I mean, a lot, I feel we can do by phone or computer. I mean,
Yeah.
I can accomplish a lot with my phone, so then your office is portable.
Right, but they did tell me on 356 that they weren't going to take anything away from safety, and I said, well, then you're gonna exclude the sheriff's department out of it, and then he gave me a funny look like,
well,
what are you talking about? Well, that's safety.
here's the deal that we were talking about that is they're not specifying that in the law that it's gonna come out of safety, but if you have to cut your budget back by $1 or $2 million, where are you gonna cut?
Safety.
Yeah, that's gonna be your first look, more than likely. So, no, that's not part of their law, but you guys are
But we-
gonna have to
When the
make those
dominoes
decisions.
fall, that's what's
We
gonna
probably
happen.
run up against the code sections for the sheriff, because the sheriff would have some level of authority there. We have to decide the dollars, but, it would be a wild circle to play.
If everybody down there is at the consensus that public safety would take the hardest hit if this was
It
through.
will.
So,
Public safety, the roads,
Especially after they've been passing the back to blue law
Yeah,
that jacked up
and
sheriff's wages
that's the
like
thing, is they passed that
50%.
and then wanna pull the money away. So,
what got me, I told one legislator that 16% of the money from Algona and Bancroft go into the general coffer for Kossuth County. You're talking about taking 10% away from the total
From
budget.
16, so you're only taking 1.6%.
Yeah, but you're taking 10% out of the 16 for us, so now we're gonna get 6% of the total tax dollars from the county.
Well, if you took away 10% of our tax dollars,
Right, that's where there's
it would
taking.
take away 1.6% for the whole grand scheme of things.
Yeah, but they're
a
not,
tenth
they're
of a
not
fixed.
taking anything away from the hospital. They're not taking anything away from the schools. They're not taking any away from the college.
Yep.
They're not taking any away from the extension.
Yeah,
Hey, there's our 16% left. They wanna cut it by 10%. We're only gonna get 6%.
well,
Cause
Yeah.
they're just cutting the county share.
yeah,
well, Iowa Lake is a necessary entity, we're not a necessary entity. No,
What's that
I
way?
don't know how they determine that.
I don't think they know what they're doing, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
well, I know there's a lot of conversations about it yet, so,
yeah,
Well, and then the fund balance, but our fund, the only fund balance we have really is in the road department.
well, they're also decreasing growth, so we can only grow by 2.5, so we can't have any more growth than that, so that's also,
Right, but then they go right back to that 350 to 380 on general basic, boy, that just hurts.
the 350.
Really not livable in this county.
Yeah, I mean, and I had gone down a day early to Des Moines because had meetings scheduled at the Capitol. Most of that was pertaining to juvenile detention, but I talked with a number of people about the tax side of things too.
Did you get anywhere on juvenile detention?
So there's multiple pieces to that topic. I would say yes, hopefully.
More beds, license?
No, all on funding, which, and part of that is it's kind of ironic that they're talking about property tax reduction. And I said, well, if it's not paid by the state in the state code, it says they are going to fund juvenile detention anywhere between 10 and 50%.
Right.
One, I don't know how they came up with a range that's 40% wide, but that's what's in the code. It's either in the code or constitution, but either way, it's written. And that's the first issue, but last year our funding was less than 10%, so they didn't even meet their statutory obligation. And during COVID, our funding went down because the funding is supplied by a fund where people who get arrested for drunk driving pay fees to get their license back. So when people aren't getting arrested because they don't have places to put people, there's less fees paid. So when everyone else was getting more money, like there was no tomorrow, juvenile detention got half of what it previously had.
And we
So-
were arresting people and putting them in places during COVID, so.
Yeah.
That didn't help either.
But yet our numbers couldn't go down because we still had to handle those individuals. And our expenses have continuously gone up because now you're not dealing with someone who steals a candy off the shelf. Probably 70% of our individuals that are at the detention center are felons. Like they have a daily snapshot in the packet every time. And I would say the last time it was about 70% that were felons. So they don't care what happens to them. They're already looking at life in prison. If they punch a detention officer in the face, they're not even getting charged because it doesn't even hit anyone's radar. And that's the climate we're dealing with. And then when it gets to the funding, if the state doesn't pay for it, the counties have to because we're the owners of the facility. So it gets passed on to property taxes.
You won't die though.
Yeah.
101, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing fair about juvenile detention because Polk County gets.
Hey, Doug, we're ready
charged
for you to
twice
come
as
up
much
if you
as
want.
We do.
Yep, bye.
Budget.
I should.
Polk County, they're still at about double what our rate is in their juvenile detention.
Yeah, so the last numbers
And
I
the
was
state's
really looking at,
backfilling that.
they're paid on expenses, so they have more expenses,
Right.
even though we had more bed days of service.
Yep.
So they're getting paid twice as much as we are in essence
Hmm.
for providing the same service.
Yeah,
And
that's because they're so damn
That's-
efficient.
I don't know that we will get that straightened out right away, but it is definitely an issue that we are talking about and trying to work on, but if we can get the piece right now is funding for everyone, and there's no one for the detention centers or counties that are opposed to it. It's just everyone's in the same boat, so we're trying to work on that first and deal with the rest down the road, because it's just gonna take some time and work to get that.
Ask you, the only thing they can bargain for is wages. They're gonna see this and Am I correct on that?
What?
The only thing they can bargain for is wages.
This point.
At this point, that's what my summation of it is.
Well, technically, they can't even do that until they go.
Yeah.
So
What's next month, next week? We're gonna be here next week?
You talking about the email?
Well, he was requesting an outline of. the
Yeah.
changes made. Only 2 changes and you did outline that.
Well, but the wages too.
The proposed
Oh,
salary increases was not.
Nope, I guess that's right.
So I guess, I don't know how everyone wants to respond to that, if you want
I'm full that everyone got a $4,000 raise.
We wanted to look at the same across the board.
Don't say too much here on camera.
well, that's what we,
Is that what you said?
Well, aren't we discussing the budget?
was
Yeah,
that,
because people watch this, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the budget.
please let our attorney do his job before we say anything.
well, that's different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, that's,
Sorry.
no, that's totally different. Yep.
Hello,
Hey, Doug?
I guess, like I said, when I, left the boardroom there, I think it was February 28th, I thought the budget was, I thought there was indications that my budget was okay. Evidently, March 6th, there was some sort of a budget workshop, and there were changes. When I talked with Tammy, she had difficulty explaining some of my questions, so I appreciate the email. I got an email, and I think the whole board of supervisors received that same email. And it had, 2 changes in it, 2 amendments, so I think I replied back, yeah, are the changes listed below the only changes that were made to the county engineer budget? I replied back, that was Tuesday evening. And yesterday I received, an email, that was the majority of the changes, I don't know. So I guess I would like to know every one of the changes that were made to the budget. I would ask for that.
I think the only changes made to the budget were in yours. We didn't make any other changes after that day.
Those changes.
Yeah, probably not. It was just that.
Somebody enhanced my memory, but that's all that I remember.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Okay.
So I guess the basis of the conversations we had on Monday was because Sunday night, Tammy had sent us a lot of information with, the working budget that we were looking at and some potential scenarios if everything went through as we had discussed previously. And that resulted in a $1.55 million increase in taxes to the county's budget. Roughly estimating with the new money for EMS versus what they previously had, it would be about $550,000 increase for EMS, so that was voted on, that's out of our control. Sheriff's office, you had requested 600,000 for increased taxes for secondary roads. Sheriff's office is looking at adding a deputy because of the court request, which is a legal requirement. And then our general, budget and stuff for the courthouse and employee wages, that sort of stuff would make up the remainder of the 400,000 that was left for increases between 550, 600, and 400. So that comes to a total of the 1.55 million. And looking at the state law that they're discussing, what number was that now?
356.
356 would limit our taxes coming in the general basic to 350. Right now, general supplemental brings in over 2.1 million. So we are looking at cutting 2.1 million out of the budget for next year. And we felt it was more appropriate to do things in stages and try and mitigate the impact up front rather than falling off a cliff in a year from now. So that
Oh,
was,
there's only 2 changes in expenditures to the budget
there
that
was,
were out in your email of March 7th.
no, the other changes were discussed were raises for
Employee wages.
Well, I guess I'm confused because I just asked the question, what changes were made? And I just heard the only 2 changes,
I did not say that.
somebody did.
No,
Somebody did. So please provide every change that you made to the budget. That's what I'm asking.
so the changes that were made to the budget were 500,000 in rural taxes for the increase being taken away. The 100,000 for local option sales tax increase will remain. And then, which we took that 500,000 out of the new equipment line item. Then moved 500,000.
Okay, can I just. So now all of a sudden, this is more than what was detailed. So if you would please,
You're making it sound like it's more than the 2. I know you're just explaining the 2 changes, but the way you're explaining it makes it sound like it's more than 2 changes. Well, the only 2 changes that happened was that 500,000 was moved out of the new equipment line item into the future repair costs line item. That's one change. The second change would be that 500,000 was just removed from the budget in the same line, new
Yes.
equipment line item. Those are the 2 changes there. The
Then you
next
got the
change,
raises.
yep, and then the next change would be that the raises were adjusted.
I did not see that in any emails here. Carl.
I'm just telling you,
that
yeah.
I believe that you've been in on these emails.
And this email to you.
So,
I-
okay, so what was changed? And I believe you're talking about. I mean, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was gonna say with the email, that probably should have been included, and that's our fault as a board. Under the direction of the chair, requested that we would type up an email. So this email is not from just Kyle. I mean,
No,
this is from our board collectively.
I know.
And that is our fault for not including that. I don't know why we didn't include that change as well in the email. And I see
What
it,
change is that change?
I'm sorry, the wage, or the raise change.
And what is the raise change?
And that would be
For 6.
for the 6 employees for, in the engineer's office, correct? I should say that right. And that change would be from, it was a $4,000 across the board for all 6 employees. Is that correct?
Each of them will get.
No,
Each would get a $4,000 raise. Am I correct in that?
What is the justification of that, please? I mean, did
We
you
didn't
do
do a
some research
percentage.
and found out that
What's that?
We didn't do a percentage.
somebody,
we didn't do a
We did not
percentage.
do a percentage.
I mean, there's gotta be some research in determining that you're gonna do that. I would assume anyway.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if I can speak for the board on this, but it was looking at other wages, looking at comparatives, looking at.
So when you're
everything else.
looking at assistant engineers' wages, people that are licensed to practice engineering in the state of Iowa,
Mhm.
that's the stuff you were looking at?
That's what we were looking at as a board.
Okay, could I please, do you have some information on that? I guess.
I
I'd like
don't,
to
I
see
don't.
it.
The ISAC salary survey is a place to start.
Do you have it? I guess, could you?
I
please
had it
provide
pulled up on my computer. That's a quick internet.
I'd like to see if it's correct, I guess. I mean, you're talking, they have assistants and they have registered assistants, they have assistants that are land surveyors, and you have,
At the end of the day, this is what we decided as a board to do with the budget and how to move forward into the coming year. And being that will be posted very soon.
Which categories?
what will be posted soon?
The max tax levy. We just voted on that this morning.
Mhm. Don't know if there's a way to print this. I think there is. That's not what I'm looking for.
Just curious, what is the percentage of percentage increase for elected officials?
Well, for supervisors, it's
2.5%.
2.5.
6% for elected officials, I believe.
11.25%.
11.25 per share.
Do you consider department heads as elected officials by any
I
chance?
don't know that that's a fair comparison. I mean, as far as certainly.
What, okay, so then I'll ask, if you don't think that's a fair comparison, are there requirements for elected officials and are there requirements for other department heads?
By requirements
I mean, are you required
to
to
do a job.
have a certain level of education, a level of continuing education? I think there is probably, well, I'm not gonna answer the question for you, but are there department heads that are required to have certifications?
Where it shows everything.
I have no idea.
I would assume so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exhibit.
I would assume as a county engineer, you would have a engineering degree. Yeah,
As a board member, you would assume,
well,
well, just the board of supervisors shall employ a licensed, at least one licensed engineer. Shall.
I know you.
How many-
We're not talking about your employment. We're just talking about the raises.
I was not saying, I'm assuming you have. a
No,
degree. Yeah,
That's a poor answer. How in the world can you as a board member not know that I have to meet certain requirements?
I know that.
How many licensed engineers do we have in the office?
5,
And we're required to employ one?
yeah.
So what would be the justification to have 4 additional licensed engineers?
There is not a requirement. However, there is a great advantage to having engineers that are trained in an engineer's office. We are able to do a lot of work because we do have people that are trained, people that happen to be licensed. Excuse me, they're One person is not, he's an engineer intern.
So that's
There are
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, licensed. I don't, once a person's licensed, I don't say, okay, you're done. We cannot have. a person. If they choose to continue to work, that's great. I mean, teachers, they reach a certain certification. Attorneys, you go to an attorney's office, you talk to attorneys.
Don or Derek,
You-
can you grab that page?
Go to a doctor's office, you talk to a doctor, physician's assistant.
I was able to pull this up as a PDF. This is the salary survey for engineers on ISAC's website.
We have,
This is the county engineers, this is a staff.
No, I said county engineer.
No, I guess I was wondering how you come about with the staff. Okay. Any other changes then to the budget?
No,
So you talked about, I think that you said something about revenues. Is there changes to the revenues
Yes,
and what are they?
a reduction in
And when you
property taxes.
specifically tell me what those reductions are?
I don't have, do you have the line number or do you want me to flip to it?
No, it's right here.
From $19 or 1.9. That has the 500,000, okay. So line 11,000,
You could just tell me if it's local option sales tax.
rural services
General
basic
basic.
fund. Rural services basic fund, operating transfers to the secondary road fund. We changed to $1,912,519.
$1,912,519. So even with the added value,
And local option sales tax is staying at 600,000. As you had requested,
so
thanks.
even with the added value, you are dropping the total dollars. The added value in Kossuth County rural area.
Yes,
Yeah. Does that, I mean, we have 2 wind farms that have started to
they are,
create.
They
yeah, those are getting reduced.
they are,
Pardon me?
they are still, part of the equation on who pays taxes. They're
Right.
not removed from that at all.
Correct. But the whole levy rate went down.
Yeah,
Because you kept those dollars the same. So if you keep the levy rate the same, everybody that had been paying will pay the very same, and the wind,
with the
people will-
increase in valuation,
pardon me,
for their respective properties as well.
and what does that amount to for us? 168? That increase in valuation. I mean, what I had projected was a $35 increase on 160 acres. $35. You don't suppose that somebody is willing to pay $35 towards an extra $35,000 to the road department, given the increases in fuel, the increases in rock?
So,
I mean, somebody's got to understand, we got that. I think that's defensible. I don't understand that thinking.
well, when you look at historical numbers, because we're all about looking at, trends and adjusting. If you go back to fiscal year 2013's fiscal year, the years 2012 to 2013, for new equipment line item, there's $700,000 in the budget.
And
That
that was what year? fiscal 12. fiscal
13. fiscal
Yeah,
year
okay.
13,
Yeah.
that budget line item dollar figure remained the same until 2020 and 2021. So fiscal year 21, it increased to 800,000. Those previous years, the amounts used, 678,000 starting in fiscal year 13. 561, 695, 350, 350. Let's see if that's a duplicate. Sorry, that is 15 and 16 is duplicate. I printed twice. 416, 438, 424 for fiscal year 19, which you referenced that there were reductions in new equipment purchases after I got on the board because of requesting multiple quotes. History shows it has gone up tremendously. Fiscal year 20, 442,000 was spent. In fiscal year 21, only 19,000, almost 20,000 was spent out of the $800,000 budget. Because of that, the next year, 1.5 million was budgeted. 448,000 was actually used. And now for this current fiscal year, we have $3 million budgeted. So far, 341,000 being used.
Do you have any idea how much is obligated in equipment right now?
3 million
No,
is what
obligated, not budgeted, obligated,
in the sheet you provided us.
which was dated
There's no date on here,
upper
but
right-hand corner.
there's no date on
Okay,
here.
what are you looking at?
This sheet,
This sheet. This is the financial statement.
this is a list
Yeah,
of stuff that you
it's-
had
I know what I
Ordered.
gave you there.
ordered, right?
Right now, I have $2.5 million.
That's
Right now, the
Yeah.
road department has $2.5 million.
obligated.
2.5 in motor graders, trucks, boxes. Okay, so by saying 341,000 is what's been expended, I think you said.
That would be what the sheet said,
Yeah.
whatever the number I
there's
read.
Still $2.5 million of equipment.
No one's
Then-
debating that.
What's that?
No one is
Okay.
debating that here.
All right. I mean, you will increase equipment operations because you know as equipment gets older, it needs more repairs. And you will continue to see the need for repairs instead of purchasing new equipment to get stuff. I think that one thing that you gotta ask yourself, why did some of that stuff happen as far as estimate of costs and budgeting numbers? We had an employee, his name was Mel Carlson. Mel, after the chassis were delivered, Mel built the trucks. Mel no longer works for Kossuth County. Now, we have to take those trucks somewhere to have them built. That is one of the reasons that is happening.
I guess I didn't say it specifically, but my point was in reading those budget numbers from fiscal year 20 to the current proposed, or the current numbers that we have in the budget for $1 million. That's a 45% increase over a period of a couple of years. I think that sufficiently takes into account inflation and the issues we're dealing with in that regard with a 45% increase. So
You're talking about expenditures, you're not talking about revenue.
no, I'm talking about
Okay.
expenditures.
Yeah. Okay. So the solution then is to I mean, what if, for example, I think that fuel prices are greater today than what they were a year ago. Would anyone argue with me there?
A year ago, maybe they were probably already high at that point in time, but 2 years ago, sure. 3 years ago, sure.
So. I mean, what is your proposal if everything is supposed to stay the same? What is your proposal on providing services to the traveling public?
I just, and facing cuts that we're going to have to make. I think what we decided as a board was that this was the least damage we could do to county's budget. And I
Would you please, I mean, would somebody please put that in writing to me? That was the least damaging? Cause I don't wanna tell somebody that may not be receiving the same service that
What
would new equipment change in the level of service?
it wouldn't be broke down. So you'd be able.
We're still getting our new equipment though, correct? But
We won't be able to get as much.
what we have obligated will still be
You,
purchased, obviously.
Yeah, but what is, I mean.
you have
you're-
plans for two,
What are you reducing the budgeted amount in that area?
By $1 million.
but it's still 45% over historical needs.
Well, I think that,
We're not.
My thought is, why are we so high now as opposed to years ago, you know?
Well,
It feels more like we're playing catch up on new equipment rather than,
we are.
could we have been,
Yeah.
well,
Well, that's why I
That's why I mean,
outlined,
We need to purchase more equipment.
but that's why I outlined what was in the budget, what was used, what was not used. And how that transpired, because $3 million is not the status quo. It's
No.
an abnormality.
Correct, but I don't think did I propose $3 million in this budget?
No, that's the current budget we have.
Right,
2 million was proposed.
okay, would you disagree with me that, the pandemic caused a shortage of equipment, a shortage of automobiles,
I
a
would,
shortage of parts? Would anyone disagree with those statements?
I would not disagree with those statements, but I would say we have 3 motor graders on order that have not been paid for yet. We have 6 truck chassis and snow equipment that is on order, not paid for yet. 2 semi tractors and a skid loader that have. I don't know if we haven't received those yet to pay for them either. So we have new equipment in the pipeline coming to our door. We have funds available to pay for said equipment. It's just not here yet. Is that not fair?
But by reducing things, just because we have new equipment doesn't mean that we are not going to need new equipment next year.
We still have $1 million for new equipment next year, which is what you brought for a proposal.
I think that I gave you a sheet
That's how to proceed here.
that looked the inventory. Does anybody remember this inventory of equipment?
yeah,
Does that show a need for equipment? Anyone?
I think we have to balance the financial responsibilities to the county in that regard, so. There's a lot of pieces to that equation.
And just so we're clear. Last year, fiscal 23, the rural basic dollars was budgeted at $2,119,871. That's what it was budgeted at. Just so we're clear.
Correct.
Now you're telling me you're gonna reduce that to $1,912,519. Is that
Yes.
what, is that correct? Are there any other changes to the budget?
No.
And when you say no, I mean, I don't know what happened on February 28th,
We got
but
information.
there was
Yeah,
some
there's-
changes after that.
That is the point of I highlighting the order of events on how this happened from the very beginning of this conversation. Was that unclear?
Pardon me?
Was my explanation of the
Oh, it was
timeline?
very unclear, especially when you told me that that was the majority of the changes, because I
What-
don't know
what
what your
part-
definition of majority is and what my definition of majority is, but those are not the same. Now, you talked about some sort of a bill or state law, something about potentially or likely changes. Have you guys visited with the state legislators and told them how this is going to make it difficult? Could I please have all the written conversations that you provided to them?
I haven't had
If I
anything,
request that, will you guys please provide it?
I don't have written conversations with them. It's phone conversations and in person for all those talks. I was just in Des Moines visiting with them for hours.
What kind of, what are you saying to them?
That we
Are you,
like,
are you
we're-
saying this makes it difficult?
it definitely
Yeah.
makes it difficult.
Yes,
Are you telling them that this is gonna reduce, this has a great opportunity to reduce services
Yep.
to
Yes.
county residents?
Yes,
And who have you talked with?
our representatives I've talked
John,
to.
Henry Stone,
Henry Stone.
currently, and John Wills.
John Wills and Dave.
And how do they reply?
They understand.
They understand. So,
It's
I
not,
mean, are they supporting it then? Are they not supporting it?
if you would like their responses, you should ask them. We can't speak on their behalf
In
and,
fact, that would be
and
helpful if
There's some of their response was you have too big a fund balance
and.
Yeah.
in the counties and in the state cities. That's the comment that I got back from them.
That was the basis of the state law being proposed, from what I've been told, is it is looking at the budgets that are submitted. They take 25% of that budget for carry forward to get from the start of the fiscal year to when taxes come in. And they're looking at millions upon millions of dollars in budgets that are not necessary, in their words, or a lack of better words, for that carry forward piece of the equation. So, if
I
you
think right
want,
now, the state's balance is very, very high as well.
and
And
they're talking
I
about
would have to
reducing
believe-
taxes for that,
Pardon me?
and they've been
No,
talking
this-
about
there-
tax cuts.
But I would have to believe that during the pandemic, it was, I mean, the Department of Transportation, they were not able to purchase equipment. Has anyone mentioned to the,
I
the,
have specifically
legislature?
said that we have $3 million in new equipment that is ordered and is not paid for because it has not arrived yet. So I have very clearly outlined that specific scenario to all of our representatives.
And I
Satisfied
guess-
with the two of them.
what kind of a reply do they say? If they're concerned about the balance and you can say that it's obligated,
That's not enough of an answer to answer all of the fund that we currently have right now. It's a good chunk of it, but it's not all.
Have you tried reaching out to the representatives at all?
I do, I emailed them about, I mean, this is, I don't know much about this bill, I just, last week they had a bill about, land surveyors and denying land surveyors the right to go out and look at section corners, which without being able to look at a section corner, to observe a section corner, to find a section corner, it makes a land surveyor's job difficult. And this bill actually made it, I think it was 60 days. And you still had to have written permission.
Okay,
I wrote to all
what about this
three.
particular?
I wrote to all three of them on this particular.
Okay,
And
did they give you any responses?
I had one reply, yes. And he said, based on my conversation, that he'd vote no on it. That happened to be in the House. That was a representative. It's a Senate bill, so I don't know if it's gonna get out of Senate or not.
And we also have on the Senate side of that same bill or their comparable ones, whatever. They're also talking about taking away local option sales tax and redistributing it. So that's a huge unknown as well. So in our discussions, we were looking at the budget and trying to be responsible. So
We have to be future tellers without knowing the future, basically. And
I have no idea this spring we could get a flood, Josh.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
don't
We
disagree.
could have when things happened in 2019, we have to repair roads. We could have snowstorms. We could lose vehicles because of accidents. We could lose bridges because of overweights. That, I have no idea what kind of expenditures are coming. I think I mentioned it to you. Every now and then I get a drainage assessment. The road department gets a drainage assessment. I was not looking towards. I think last year was $300,000. I think that you guys talked about having a letting. It ended up being about $200,000. I don't, I can't plan for those kinds of things. Well, it is disappointing, I guess. And what is really disappointing is not having the opportunity to come in and have this stuff given to me. The board and the engineer, board of supervisors and the county engineer have. There's got to be communication. There's got to be trust. I don't know if you guys have it in me or not. But there's got to be communication. If you want to know why something is going on, you have to call me. You have to come down to my office. You've got to ask. There are things that the county engineer is responsible for. And again, it is disappointing that I was out of town. I had that training scheduled since January. And to have things change, especially since a handful of days earlier, I thought things were okay.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else come before the good of Kossuth County?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.
Lunchtime. Boy, Roger, you're getting pretty crazy on that desk cleaning thing. You're peeling
I'm
off your
tired of
paper.
doodling on the same piece of paper. I've stamped it up enough that I think I can have a new sheet.
Yeah.
You look at it, get confused on what
Yeah,
day.
just a second. Oh. You gotta get there.
I asked. I'll come back after.